All right, so let's begin. Hello everyone, my name is Solange. I work for Codurance and nice start. So before I begin, I would like to I'd like to thank the Women Tech Makers for giving me this opportunity to be here today, and all the supporters or the sponsors that made this event possible. So, as I said, we're here to talk about a culture of mentorship, collaboration, and how that can change you as a person, but also as a professional. Mentorship. I thought I'd start off with this beautiful quote by Denzel Washington. Do you all know who Denzel Washington is? Yeah. Okay, so when he says that usually behind every successful person, no matter what you do, no matter your walk of life, there's always been someone, there's always behind you, there's always someone who has pushed you, who has cheered on you, and who has shown you the way. And that is what a mentor is.
No.
Hello? No? Hello? Nope.
Sorry.
No problem. No. This is where we break for lunch. Okay. Okay.
Keep it closer to.
Okay, so when we think of mentorship, the first thing that comes to mind is that one-to-one traditional form of mentorship. When you have generally in a professional setting, you have a senior person mentoring a junior junior level person. But mentorship comes in various forms. We can think of that informal mentorship where maybe in our lives we have those people, those friends that we look up to, the ones that we'd like to emulate their behavior. These are role models, and they also serve as mentors. And we have this what I call peer-to-peer mentorship. You can see them as people who are maybe keep us accountable. It's like accountability buddy, the one who will make sure that if you've set some goals, let's say you've started working out, and you have that person that you're going to work out with, and then they're going to motivate you. You motivate each other. You keep each other accountable. But you also have what I would call a network of mentors. A little over 6 months ago, I joined Codurance as an apprentice, and so they have this apprenticeship program, which is a very intensive training program that runs over 12 weeks. You have, 8 first weeks are really mentored sessions, and then you have the 4 last weeks, which are project work. And those, we had access to diverse mentors, different levels of experience, different levels of expertise, different levels of backgrounds and cultural backgrounds as well. And I found that exposure to such diversity was extremely rich, especially in such a short period of time, because they empower you with their knowledge, they empower you with their experience, and you get to see, sometimes when you want to learn something new and you take a book, or you sign up to an online course, the difference here is that you got to sit down next to 8 mentors, and you got to see them work, and they upskilled us with their knowledge, like I said before, and that diversity of experience, of different approaches in solving problems, that diversity stretched our minds to levels that we could hardly reach on ourselves. And it was very challenging at times. And but you know, when things are challenging, that's when you learn, that's when you grow. And I really, really appreciate it very much. And another thing that I loved most about this is that we got to see that there's no one way of doing things. There's no absolute truth about, oh, this is the kind of problem, here you go, this is the formula, do it like this, you're all good to go. It's not like that. And each one of these different mentors brought to the table their way of thinking, their own techniques, their way of viewing things. And that was really, really rich, because you realize that it's really a value judgment kind of thing, and you have to, it exercises your critical thinking, your reasoning skills, and it fosters your creativity, because you kind of have to now carve your own path and develop your own technique maybe. I really, really benefited a lot from this. I remember one key exercise that we were doing. We were working on the lift kata. Do we all know what a kata is? Yeah, we know what a kata is. Okay, so yeah, a colleague decided, okay, I'd like us to work on the lift kata, and so we sat all together around a table and a computer, and just even before we wrote one single line of code, we spent like maybe an hour discussing the problem and how to approach it. And even that, how do you approach it? Do we approach it from the elevator point of view? Do we approach it from maybe the external elements that are going to communicate with the elevator? Oh, sorry. Oops. Okay. So even just delimiting the scope of the problem, even deciding on, okay, this is the approach we are going to go with. That took us an hour, and around the table you had multiple people with different levels of experience, seniors, juniors, and everyone would contribute their ideas. Maybe we should do it like this, maybe we should do it like that. And it was very, very rich, and made me realize that, oh, there's never one way of doing things. And then when we started writing the code, so we practiced TDD. Do you all know what test-driven development is? Yeah, okay, cool. So we write the first test, we run it, it's red. We write some implementation code to make it pass. Cool. We move on to the next one. Same thing. Next requirement, write a test. We write the implementation to make it pass. Everything is fine. And then we were about to write the third test and realized, okay, so it looks like the second one. It's the same act. So why don't we move to a parameterized test instead? And then, well, not that I would want to put him on the spot, but he's here today in the audience, Alfredo, says, well, I don't like parameterized tests, because then you kind of, if you go with a parameterized test, your test code and your implementation code will end up being mirrors of each other, mirror images of each other. And it actually leads to your code and your test code and your implementation being very highly coupled. But we were like, oh, but don't worry about it. As we add to our parameterized tests, as we add input values and expected values, our tests are going to get more specific. That will force our implementation to be generic and to encompass everything. And then he says, well, I'm not very sure about that, but okay, let's go with your approach and see what happens. So we wrote the tests, parameterized test, where we enter our first value. Okay, everything goes as planned. We run the test, it's red, we implement, and then it goes green. We add another value, same thing. And then we add a third value, we run the test, and then it's green. And we were like, whoa, we expect it to be red, but it's passing already. And so most of us were like, okay, what just happened? And that proved Alfredo's point, which was that, okay, our test code was very, 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 very coupled with our implementation. And not only did it prove his point, but it all told us around that table that, oh, we didn't know this thing. We didn't know, no matter how experienced we were, some of us were really, really senior principals, but we had no idea that sometimes, going with parameterized tests is not always the right thing to do. So I really, really liked that, that approach, to see that you sit around a table, you can contribute. It doesn't matter if you're a junior or a senior, you can contribute and teach each other in this way. And so I really, these discussions are very rich. These discussions, you won't get them from a book. You won't necessarily get them from an online course or a course in a university or something. Another thing I realized with having a mentor, it can be just one mentor, but having a network of mentors is that you create these very, very short feedback loops that will help you improve very rapidly. So you expose your weaknesses, and then those weaknesses, you get advice, you get guidance, but you also upskilled with technical knowledge. And those should very, very short, very fast feedback loops help you grow tremendously. And so in order for all of that to happen, you need to be in a very collaborative environment. You need to be in an environment that supports and welcomes questions, that you can just walk up to someone and ask a question, ask for feedback. It doesn't matter whether they've been doing this for 50 years and you're just starting. It doesn't matter that maybe you have 10 experience in a domain and they have maybe, 15 experience in another domain. You can just go and ask them anything. And I realized also that this really helps sharpen your communication skills, because you need to be able to express your questions. You need to be able to express what you don't understand or you don't know. And it's a very, very good exercise when learning how to communicate effectively. Another thing, so sometimes, so a mentorship relationship is a, like I said, a two-way street. So it's not just someone telling you what to do, someone giving you tools. Okay, this is a problem, go, this is how you do it. It's really, you get to learn to express yourself and, ooh, okay. And then, yes, it's, ooh, I'm a little, I can hear myself much, much louder. Okay, so you get to express yourself, you get to ask your question, ask for feedback, but it is a relationship that you build with your mentor, and it's very rich. On a human level, it's a very, very, very rich relationship that you will not necessarily get from a book. Like I keep saying that book, but because I really want to emphasize the fact that in a very, very short period of time, you get upskilled in a way that you wouldn't in traditional forms. So I talked about collaboration, and this is the next part of my presentation. As you can see, I really like codes, and this one is about working as a team. And the part that I like most about this code is that collaboration will allow common people to attain uncommon results. So what do we mean by collaboration? If you do research on Google or open up a dictionary, you'll get myriads of definitions about collaboration. This is the one that I like the most, which says that collaboration is highly diversified teams working together with the purpose of creating value by improving innovation, customer relationship, and efficiency while leveraging technology for effective interactions in the virtual physical space. So, from a company point of view, if you foster collaboration, effective collaboration will foster creativity because, this is where you hear that, the sum of parts is not greater than the whole, because collaboration means that teams work together, people work together, and they uplift each other, they teach each other, and that results into creativity and innovation. And this creativity and innovation will have a better impact on the company, on its effectiveness, on its efficiency. And when employees feel valued and appreciated, because their ideas are not only heard and taken into account but welcomed, this will turn into better team engagement, which means that they will also tirelessly put in a tireless effort to make a difference in the company. And as for as a professional, I say on a personal level, what I've realized is, so I joined a team we were 6 people on the team, and with various backgrounds, some of us were, back-end engineers, others front-end developers, and different cultural backgrounds, different levels of experience, and I found it to be extremely rich. For example, there's I recall an example of we were working on a console-based Twitter-like application. Just needed to implement its persistence, and with a relational database and a non-relational database. And so I was working in pair with someone who had very, very little experience working as a back-end developer. And so we started off, we had a very simple data model, users who post messages and who follow other users. And so we started sketching out a very simple schema for our database. And then, we go with, let's say, a username and a numeric identifier. And it seemed very straightforward and very easy to do. And then we work through our problem, and then at one point we realized that to be able to, let's say, display all the messages that had been posted by one user, and all the messages that had been posted by all the users that user follows, we will face the problem of having to query the database just to get the numeric ID for that user in order to do our joins and links and stuff like that. And it seemed kind of not the right thing to do. Instinctively, we felt like this is not the right thing to do. It feels very expensive. And so we tried to think of ways to work around it. But after maybe 10 minutes of discussion, we realized that we were going to have to do this. And then my colleague, Tony, who I was working with, says, but you know what? We only need to do that because we're coming from we're assuming that we need a numeric ID for our tables. What if we use a username as a primary key? Why don't we just do it like this? And for me, that was really an aha moment. I was like, oh yes. It exposed an assumption from my part. It exposed also something that, made me realize that I had been doing this kind of thing for so long that it had become a habit. It had become a routine of just, you need to design a schema for a database. Let's go with numeric IDs but that is not always necessary depending on the application that you're working on. And so that aha moment really, it transformed me again, because it made me realize that also you can learn from anyone. You know, it doesn't, no matter their experience, even if they've never done this kind of work before, they come to the table with a fresh pair of eyes that you absolutely need, especially if you've been doing this for a long time, you know. And I really, really enjoyed that pairing session, and it actually simplified our work greatly. We ended up with a solution that was very simple, very straightforward, very elegant, and yeah, I was very thankful for that. Another thing I noticed when you work in a very collaborative environment is that, so on our team we had someone who has a music background, and he was used to deliberate practice, you know, as a musician, and he drew a parallel between the deliberate practice when you're programming, doing katas, honing your skills, and, you know, deliberate practice when you know, learning an instrument or, you know, exercising your muscle memory. And he helped us with understanding that if you're going to work on a kata, because he had tried to translate what he was doing in music to programming, and it didn't work for him. He realized that if you're going to work on a kata, for instance, you need to allocate a certain amount of time so that you're able to, not only because you start with discussing with your team member or the person you're pairing with, you're going to need some time to discuss the problem and to decide on an approach, and this might take not less than an hour before you can actually get to coding. Obviously, this depends on the problem you're working on, but he made us realize that if you want to work effectively, if you want this to be beneficial to you, always allocate enough time, not less than an hour, to work on a problem if you want to hone your skills. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. Getting to see, getting to benefit from people that, you know, different cultural backgrounds. We worked with people. So I come from Rwanda, and I'd been living in Belgium for 17 years. And we had ways of doing our things in Belgium, but suddenly I'm working on a team with people, with Spanish people, with someone from Romania, someone from London. It was really interesting culturally because you get to know them, learn to understand them, and we lost the mic again. All right. So as I was saying, when you get the chance to work with people with different cultural backgrounds and different levels of experience, there's an exchange that happens, and you develop a deeper understanding of who they are, and this requires empathy to be able to do that. It requires empathy, and empathy will lead to, when you work in such an environment, you know, towards shared goals, when you feel mutually supported, that empathy will lead to mutual support, and that will develop your conflict management and conflict resolution skills, especially if you work as a consultant. This is very, very important, and it leads to better social skills overall. And also, like I said, shared goals and mutual support for each other will result in greater successes. So, for me, the key takeaway from this experience, it's been 6 months now working at Codurance, and I've come to realize that collaboration in conjunction with mentorship will foster a team-focused environment that leads to, that supports an open mindset. And this open mindset will, helps you realize that no matter, we've lost it again. No.
So No, it doesn't work. Okay, now.
Okay. Okay, so that open mindset, no matter your level of experience or expertise and background, it helps you realize there's always going to be something to learn, and it encourages you to strive for continuous improvement, continuous learning, and that brings about a sense of humility that, allows you to ask for help when you need it, to ask for feedback, to ask for guidance, that sense, that creates a sense of community where we get together like today and share our knowledge and we share our experience, and we also feel free to share lessons learned from mistakes, previous mistakes or failures, and that is what a culture of learning looks like to me, what's going on? Okay, I think we're back. Yes. Yes, and it's thanks to those mentors. Like I don't want to put you on the spot, Christina, here, but she's actually the one who encouraged me to come here today to apply. She said, "I'll put you to the challenge, and you cannot say no," basically. I'd never done this before. It was my first talk, and then she said, "This is going to change you. This is going to help you grow. So go for it." And you need those kind of champions in your life, not only in the professional setting, but also in your personal life. Friends travel across the world to come and see you. I mean, yes, you need those people behind you, and they'll make you grow. They'll create a transformative experience for you. It's okay, I can just finish. I'm about to finish anyway. Can you all hear me? Yes, okay. So, okay. Great idea, yes, okay. That's okay.
Some problems.
Okay, no problem. So, like I was saying, having this support from mentors all over. Okay, let me move away from the Okay, so having, benefiting from this culture of learning has transformed me in tremendous ways, and I want to thank the Women Tech Makers for supporting this kind of culture, for bringing us together, making sure we connect, we meet, and we learn from each other. And I'd like to thank you all for coming and being part of this. And yes, this was my first talk, so thank you very much. Thank you.
I just want to say sorry for all the problems you've been having during your talk. And it being your first talk, please don't let this put you down. Continue doing this, because I think you're a naturalist. And what you've been sharing, I'm sorry for all the problems, but I think it's very important, and this is how we learn and how we grow. And please make sure you talk to her and understand everything that you didn't understand, because the mic wasn't working. And thank you very much for being here today, and I'm really sorry because you had to go through all this.
No, it's no problem. I need stickers, so please, let's talk. please, let's talk. Thank you.
Any questions, please?
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much. It was a great talk, and
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed it. And I do agree very strongly how important mentorship is to us, especially as females growing in the tech and business world.
Yes.
I'm currently in a position myself where I'm trying to find a mentor for myself. I just recently started an internship with a very nice company, and so I was wondering, how do you go with initiate this mentorship relationship. Like, how do you find someone to be your mentor? How do you know it's a good fit? And how do you say, like, do you talk with them, say, can you be my mentor? Or it grows organically, you know?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. So, I had a tremendous opportunity to be in a company where mentorship it's an open company, and so mentorship is really encouraged, and you can talk to anyone. There's no that separation of, you're scared of speaking to someone with, much higher, much more, many more years of experience or background. You can just walk to anyone and talk to them and ask them a question. And so that really helped me getting used to everybody and talking to them. But also, like I mentioned, it was a mentored session. It was a program that was really intense, that we got the chance to be mentored by different people. And like you said, so you got to see their style and talk with them on a daily basis. And for me, I discovered early on someone in the company that I viewed as a role model, because their behavior and their background and their knowledge was something that I wanted to emulate. So I walked to them and I said, look, this is how it is. Would you be my mentor? I'd like to grow as a consultant. I'd like to grow as a well-rounded problem solver. And he is very involved with many aspects, not only in the company, but he does podcasts, he does all these things that that I like to be involved with. So I talked with him, and then so I think what you can do is observe, speak with them, and then see. It can grow organically, but you can take the lead and approach them, and make it happen. Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Any more questions over there?
Cool. Do.
Yeah, but if you
I'm coming with you. Let's go.
Thank you for the speech. Have you ever worked in a non-collaborative environment?
Wow.
The question is, how do you lead the transformation from a non-collaborative environment to a collaborative environment?
That's a tough one. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. So yes, I worked in a non-collaborative environment, and probably that's the reason why I'm able to appreciate it even more, because it's been transformative. How do you lead such a change? Well, come talk to Codurance. No, that's a shortcut. But I think you can maybe start at a team level. I think you can. It depends. That's a tough one. I think you can start at a team level. Maybe initiating, maybe pairing sessions about a kata. It doesn't have to be work on a project, a client project, or a project that you're currently working on. And then you say, let's have a pairing session over lunch, for example, or a discussion over something, or learning talks, for example, at the end of the day or over lunch. It depends on how your company is structured. And you encourage people to come and talk about things that they're passionate about. They'll teach each other about things, technique. Maybe they've encountered a problem and this is how they solved this problem. And then it's just an idea, but that might encourage, start the discussion going. And then, people feel free to come to start talking to each other, and then be like, I'm working on this project and I have this problem. Let me go talk to someone there, because I know that they've been through this and they'll be able to help. I think, yes, that would be what I would suggest. But otherwise, Codurance is based really. One of the values of Codurance is that collaborative environment. So I'm really, really lucky to have been. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So we have more time and the microphones are collaborating. So
Nice.
anyone else for questions? Yeah? Don't be shy. No? Okay, so thank you. Oh, over there. Yeah.
Take the opportunity. So thank you, that talk was awesome and congratulations on your first talk.
Thank you.
And I really agree with what you say about a collaborative environment and an open environment and how important it is. One thing that I think can be a challenge with that is there sometimes maybe is a risk that, especially with empathy, people find it very hard to give the constructive and challenging feedback to help people grow. Have you seen ways in a collaborative environment to help keep fostering that element, like the element of being able to identify, like you said, the weaknesses and helping other people to grow?
So let me see if I understand correctly. You're saying if you see in a teammate maybe some weaknesses that they should address, and how do you give them that feedback? Is that it? No.
In that collaborative culture where people are really invested in other people's growth, sometimes I think people find it hard to give the difficult feedback, the constructive feedback.
Yes.
So how do you make sure that that keeps happening?
Yeah. Okay. So currently, it's actually funny that you'd say that, because we are talking about feedback, giving constructive feedback, and I think it's a skill in itself, being able to talk to someone and keep giving that feedback. So in the 6 months that I've been at Codurance, I think you because there's that open mindset that you have. And so every advice that you get, every guidance that you get, you take it as this person talking to me is trying to help me grow. So I think everyone understands that it's not a criticism. It's not criticism if you're being told this. It's because we are helping you to grow. So yeah, I think that open mindset really helps you with that. Yeah. Thank you. Any question, comment, feedback? No? Thank you.